Hey Elyse, how you doing today?
I'm good. Yourself?
Great, great. Thanks for accepting my invite to the Due Diligence Nugget podcast. It's been interesting market these days. So, how you been doing as a realtor? Can you talk a little bit about yourself?
Yes, it has been an interesting market, and it's only getting more and more interesting as time goes on. I started in focusing on real estate. We right when COVID hit and when everything kind of started. And I remember vividly last March, or not last March, 2 Marches ago, we were like, oh my goodness, am I going to have a job still? Like, am I still going to get paid? Like, we were so nervous about it. But, you know, even though it has been a very tough market for buyers, it's also been a very good market. So it's just a matter of making the most of things. And really it comes down to your mindset as well. You've got to have that growth mindset. You've got to focus on goals and really go get them and try and go around obstacles. And that's a big thing with your rental properties or real
Mhm.
estate investing is it's all comes down to your mindset at the end
Mhm.
of the day. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I know across the board in Ontario, we are kind of call it lucky for those people that own, and also lucky for people that are finding deals.
Yes.
So would you say, so our topic today is really about buying your first rental property
Mhm.
and the due diligence around that, right? So I have a question a little bit. Will that be different between a first-time home buyer that are planning to buy a home for living in versus a rental property, the first rental property? Will there be a difference between the buyers?
Yes. So if you're buying a rental property and you're not planning to live in it, by assumption, you may have already have a primary residence. So with that, if you're buying your first home, the nice thing about buying your first home and what I would recommend to somebody who's getting into this market and who wants to start real estate investing,
Mhm.
your first purchase, your first house, I would recommend buying a duplex because as a first time home buyer, you only have to do the 5% down minimum and you get the land transfer tax, most of it covered as well, depending on the price. I think they only cover up to $368,000 and then you have to pay on top of that in terms of the purchase price, not the actual land
Mhm.
transfer. So if you are purchasing a rental property for your first time and you already own a house, it's a little different. You'll have to have a bigger deposit down payment on the property. I believe 10 to 20%, depending on whether you want it insured or not insured by CMHC or another mortgage company, mortgage insurer.
Mhm.
If you're buying your first house in general, again, you can do 5% down and it's you're going to live there, right? So that's
Mhm.
two completely different kind of things, but I think the best idea if you are not currently owning a home would be kind of to hybrid it. Get a duplex, have somebody else pay for your mortgage to start when you don't have to invest that much money into it, right? And then kind of
Right.
move up from there.
That is awesome tip there. Great nuggets that you're providing there. And so I think there is a difference. The other difference is sometimes the home buyers, they are not thinking about investing, but they are more like emotionally involved with the house, right?
Yes.
And going to the due diligence that you're supposed to do around it. Do you think that people that are buying home for themselves have less of that mindset of due diligence compared to going to the rental? What's your thought in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So yes and no to that extent of if you're living in a house, you have more of an attachment to it, right? So, and I mean, in this market, it's also very tough because it's a very strong seller's market. So you're not able to have the financing clauses like usual. You're not able to have the inspection clauses like usual. So there isn't a whole lot of protection for you
Mhm.
as a buyer, unless you're working with an agent who, we do pre-inspections, etc. So there is ways around it, but it can be tough. With an investment property, it's a whole different ball game. So if you're buying a house for yourself, a lot of people say it is not. You can't really think of it as an investment because it's actually costing you money, right? An
Mhm.
investment brings you in money. So your family home isn't, in a way it's an investment, but in a way it's also not really an investment.
Mhm.
So a rental property, you need to look at the numbers, you need to look at cash flow, you need to look at the cap rate. Like there's so much more involved on that end of things. Whereas your personal home, you want to make sure the structure's good, the house is good, and you can pay for the mortgage and
Right.
bills.
Yeah. 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 The numbers will be critical. One of the due diligence, you really have to make sure your numbers are working out, right?
Yes, yes,
Now you are calling to us from Belleville, is that correct?
yes.
And the surrounding, I guess you service the surrounding area as
Yep,
well.
Belleville, Quinty, Hastings. We go all the way to Kingston
All right.
to like Coburg. Yeah,
Wow, that's quite a area that you're covering there.
it is. Yes.
So as part of your clients, like we're talking about the first rental property. If I'm approaching you and say, at least I really want to invest in your city, what are the due diligence you have helped with your clients? Like I have no idea about Belleville, so what are the things you're telling me at this point?
Well, there's certain spots in Belleville. One, like location's a big thing. So, for instance, in Quinty area in general, we've seen a big uptick in the prices in Trenton because there's that CFB Trenton, the military base there, which are great renters because they have a good income. It's stable. You know that the military is getting paid each month, right? So Trenton has been really popular for that.
Mhm.
Belleville is also really good because we have a lot of people moving from Trenton to the Belleville area, but there's certain pockets of Belleville which are better than others, like many cities.
Mhm.
So one is location, two is finding the right deal. It all comes down to the numbers at the end of the day.
Okay.
Are these working? So we calculate, again, the cash flow, the cap rate. You got to find the right one and kind of go from there. So
Right.
there's location and then there's also the numbers. You need to make it be able to work.
So Trenton, you mentioned one of the due diligence you do is because there is good renters, right?
Mhm.
Like a Trenton is military, so I'm sure the government is paying them well.
Yes.
um, but is the rent you're seeing rent increasing in those areas as part of your future growth
Yes.
in those areas? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. It is increasing. It's weird because Trenton, up until basically the pandemic happened, Trenton used to be about $20,000 less. Buying a property there was actually less money than buying a property in Belleville. But now it's actually switched because
Mm.
Trenton is just that little bit closer to the GTA. It
All
has more
right.
military members, so it's actually become the more popular spot.
Oh wow. And
Yeah.
and it's safe. I suppose it will be very safe.
Yes.
You're well surrounded by our army boys,
Yeah. A
So
lot of Air
that's a
Force.
check
So
mark for safety, I guess.
yes.
Wow. Okay. So you talked about areas and neighborhood. So what you have seen, like every city has, right? But in a city like Belleville, you have a beautiful, water area, waterfront,
Mhm.
and do you have any ideas of areas you have taken to your clients based on your due diligence? And is it by the rent or is it by price that you kind of showing them?
So Belleville's really hit and miss. I wouldn't
Mm,
say there's necessarily one specific area. Like there's a general kind of area between like Coleman and Moira that we try to avoid. Those are the two streets. But in the past few years, they've been getting better. Like houses around that area are selling $500,000 now, where they
wow.
used to be way less than that, right?
Right.
So the kind of difference between the two has changed. It's really because a lot of people that you're renting to, sorry, my daughter's coming in. Maddie, can you close
No.
the door, please? Can you close the door? No, can you close the door, please? Where's your dad? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
So I don't even remember what I was saying.
Yeah. So you have those two streets
Maddie,
where
Maddie, can you go, please? Can you go? I know, but can you go with your dad, please? Thank you. I know. Okay.
that's the real life. That's
Yeah.
normal. That's fine. I just told my crew upstairs just to keep a little bit quiet. I'm in the basement.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
So
we were talking about the two streets, like you know, in the area. Yeah.
yes, yeah, Coleman and Moira, I'd say in general, they were the kind of the cross streets that you want to avoid. They were the rougher parts of Belleville. But I think when it comes down to it is our transit, like you want to be somewhere where there's good bus stop. You want to be
Hmm.
somewhere where there's good maintenance on the streets, etc. Can you
Hmm.
Is she?
No, she's out. So sorry.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's hit and miss, and it really does again come down to the numbers of like a lot of places in Belleville, unfortunately, and it's a big disservice, is to not increase the rents every year.
okay.
A lot of people keep the rents flat. So you'll see a lot of places that have tons of potential, but
Hmm.
they're under rented because people haven't been raising the
The
rates.
rent. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow. And those property values are substantially probably higher than where they were before, right?
absolutely. Yes.
Wow.
So it makes
And
it really hard.
yeah, so what do you focus on, like usually with your clients? Are they single families or multis, or what do you play with in in your area there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so both, all of them. I'm open for anything basically.
Hmm.
I do like investment properties because again, there's that growth mindset to it. I like first time home buyers
Hmm.
because again, they're growing and there's something special about seeing them create their life. And when you can kind of get a first time home buyer and get them to start investing, that's
Right.
perfect because
Right.
you're starting them onto an upward trajectory. You're watching them grow.
That's what we want. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the whole the kind of slogan I always think about is everybody needs to get a richer in Canada, and that's why we are here that's why we are in Canada,
Yep.
for better opportunities. So
Absolutely.
for everybody. So there is enough room to share and not compete. So going into due diligence. So you looked at the neighborhood,
Mhm.
you look at the rents. Is there anything else like schools, or do you guys have better schools or colleges, or
Yep.
what do you look at, which area you kind of focus on?
Again, it's there are a lot of schools. I'd say I think the most, well, we have Albert College, which is a private school. So a lot of people
Mm,
will send from like overseas, they send their children to that boarding school. So it's a well-known one. There's a school for the deaf. There's a whole bunch of other public schools
right.
around, French immersions and whatnot. So there is a lot of that. But if you're starting your search for a rental property, it's more of getting your ducks in a row than focusing on specifically like looking. The schools are good, but I would say you want to focus on creating your team
Okay.
around it. So you've got yourself, you've
Yeah.
got your agent
Yeah.
who hopefully is, your mentor and who can kind of look for these things and show you what good properties are
Right.
and what has potential, what's growing, and that person can help guide you to that. The other person you're going to need is your property manager. I think it's very
Hmm.
important to have property management because actually, as Travis Royle, he's our broker team leader of the Royle Group. He said, you're a landowner, not a landlord.
Okay.
So when you're getting into rental properties, I think it's a part of knowing that you can separate yourself a little bit from it to not have that same attachment, right? And the fourth person, mortgage broker, and the fifth person would be a contractor. So that's kind of like your team of 5 people that you need to kind of get ready if you're going to do the BRRRR technique. So
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
sorry, that was a lot.
Yeah. No, this is great. Those are awesome nuggets that you're providing there. Again, we want to focus a lot in anybody who wants to start, right? That's the first rental property, and that's usually the taking the first action, is the most difficult one, right? After that, you have a team. I know Elyse now. I can call Elyse and say, hey, I'm looking for this.
Yeah.
And that's at the first time, it's always difficult, right? So I'm glad to hear that you are not just sending me a listing, but you're also advising me,
Yes.
there is a difference
Yeah.
of that too, right? Because what you're putting in your team is also a person that, as part of your due diligence, you have to understand which areas are great for to invest, especially in my
Mhm.
first time, I
Yes.
don't want to end up buying something that, and every other day there is a police car on the street,
Yeah. No,
that
exactly.
that
Yeah.
that will really really be bad. As a
Mhm.
first time, I can tell you one of my little stories that I almost quit investing at one point because one of my tenants, I don't know what she did or the family did. The property was spanking clean, and somehow bed bugs showed up. So I was ready just to hang my towel and just say, I'm done with this, right? So but again, it's part of the tenant selection, that's everything checked up. But again, beyond all those checks, you never know. But
Yeah.
things can happen, right? So
Yeah.
at least the neighborhood that you cover with the clients is great.
Yeah, and that's something I never really thought about was the bed bugs and dealing with infestations like that.
Yeah,
I
it took
mean,
me about three months to clean up. I think 3 months to
wow.
4 months. Yeah,
Well,
and
that
and
would
we
be a
end up
headache.
going to the landlord tenant board because the person sued me and really say that I introduced them and I have all the paper necessary to kind of show I've been taking care of the situation day one, the first
Yeah.
phone call.
It can
But
be a headache. Yeah. Do you
oh,
manage your own properties or?
no, I mean in Brampton, I have a couple of properties that I just manage them by myself.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that I bought a while back, and but the rest of anything that is outside 10 minutes, it's a property managers. I focus more on do my business than managing the properties.
Exactly, and that's exactly it. Because being a manager on your own it's a
Yeah,
whole full-time job for you to do that, right?
that's right.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So you I like to kind of outsource it. I come from my IT background, so everything is
Yeah.
outsourced.
Yep.
So just give it away. Pay the 5% to 10%. That's
It's worth it.
it's worth it.
Oh yeah.
It's worth it for sure. Now the So how is the population drive? As part of the other due diligence that we're talking about is, are they people coming to Belleville?
Mhm.
Right. So what are you seeing as part of the due diligence?
It has been crazy the amount of people that have been coming into Belleville.
Mhm.
Lots of GTA people we've seen, because again, the pandemic, it's been going on for years, but we've seen like 10 years of growth in the past 2 years. So that's really caused, basically it's caused house prices to jump from, they were, mid threes average home price to now like they're in 600s average home price. So we've really seen a lot of growth. And the city of Belleville, I was reading the official plan a few weeks ago, a month ago, they expect, I believe it's around a 5% growth, even on top of that too. So
Wow.
we are seeing it continue to grow. We'll see population. There's lots of subdivisions being planned, etc. So
Okay.
uh, I don't see that slowing down. We've got the 401. We're perfectly situated between Ottawa, Toronto. It's like 2.5 hours to downtown Toronto from right in Belleville.
Right.
So yeah, it's yeah, I don't see it
And
slowing down.
yeah, no, that's great for the investors. I mean, this is good news. But again, it's part of the due diligence. You have to know what's going on in that city.
Yes.
And what do you advise your clients in terms of like I said earlier, I don't know about Belleville. So what about jobs? Do people have jobs up there? You have a nice waterfront, so not everybody is at the beach. They
No,
have to
yeah, no,
work at
and
the end
that's
of the
true.
day. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people know about Prince Edward County,
Yes.
which is kind of, it's our winery area. So
Mm.
that's more of a roller coaster market.
Hmm.
And I would say investing in that is very iffy. But Belleville itself, I mean, again, Trenton, we have the military. People in the military also live here in Belleville. So we got that strong background. We have quite a few. We've got Procter and Gamble, warehouse and factory here in Belleville, as well as some other auto parts places. So there is a lot of factory jobs, which again is good.
Right.
But like any city, there are certain people on ODSP. So it's kind of a mix between you've got the manufacturing, you've got the government, and you do have some long-term tenants who are on ODSP.
Okay.
So it really is a mix, but
Okay.
there is some things here for the growth. They keep on talking about a Costco coming to Belleville, which
Ooh,
would be amazing, but I don't know when that's going to happen.
yeah, you're gonna end up spending lots of money in there.
Yes.
You go for one ketchup, you end up with 4 ketchup, you know?
Yeah.
That would be crazy. Yeah, yeah. So that sounds awesome. And you seeing more new builders coming in, building new houses, new neighborhoods. Is that going on there?
Yes, and it's really interesting, actually. I don't know how it's going on in the rest of Ontario, but what we've seen in our area, it used to be that new home builds, they'd have like kind of a set price. You put your deposit down, that house is yours. So when the pandemic first started and the bidding wars really started ramping up, we were like, go get a new home build because that's the safest option that you have. But now the new home builders, what they're doing is they're putting out a base price and then they're taking bids on top of that.
Oh,
So
wow.
even that has been a very
Never seen that.
difficult. Yeah.
I mean, never seen that before pandemic. It used to be fixed price, right?
Yeah.
Whatever they tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
So it's
crazy.
been,
It's
yeah.
good to be
Yeah.
in the builder side, or anybody. I mean, at this time, these days, anybody who owns the house is in a good position because seller market, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Wow. So yeah, that's very interesting to hear that. And the other thing that I learned a little bit was you have the beauty of both, right? Like you have it feels like college area,
Hmm.
but at the same time, it's you can live and work in the same place, right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of a beauty that you have compared to some of us in like I'm in Brampton, and it's like a 4 walls. It's
Yeah.
so busy. So I
Yeah.
have to
That's
drive for two,
true.
3 hours to kind of go to the beach area.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like the residents in Belleville,
Hmm.
because there's so many GTA people that are coming to our area, because it's only 2.5 hours. We have the rail station here, so it's easier for that work-life balance.
Right.
A lot of people who've grown up in Belleville are going to start having to commute as well. So
Hmm.
areas like Tweed and Madoc, Bancroft, Marmora, those places are growing as well.
Wow.
So we're seeing Belleville kind of become the hub, very much like the GTA,
Hmm.
that Toronto is the hub, and then you've got these
Yeah.
outskirts of other places.
Right. Right. Is the Via Rail passing by there to go to Ottawa, or Toronto
Yeah,
or Montreal?
it goes from Ottawa all the way to Toronto, and there's a stop in Trenton and Belleville.
Huh. Yeah. Oh,
Mm.
wow. Okay, that's pretty good for because I've seen people. It's kind of interesting. I was taking the Via Rail at one point, and then I noticed this lady. She basically takes out her socks, takes out her shoes, puts her blanket, and then I realized she works in Toronto, and every
Oh,
day she takes the commute, morning and then night,
yeah,
same train back and forth, and she's just has a routine. It's amazing. She wants
yeah,
that life, and she's in the first class because she already booked it for the year probably,
yep.
prepaid it. That's amazing. Yeah. That's great to hear that you are really helping your clients and educating them. What to look for and what kind of due diligence they need to do.
Hmm.
Because, like I said, that's the biggest problem. Like as to take an action.
Yeah.
I like the idea that I wish I started that way, but I like the idea where you are recommending them as well. Start with a rental duplex.
Hmm.
And then you can kind of house hack.
Yep.
That's a beautiful idea. In my 90s, I don't think I heard that kind of system. We were all looking for a new homes. That was so nice, and
Yeah.
not
And I
thinking
think,
about investment. But
yeah, that's exactly it. If I
Mhm.
had known, I didn't do that either, but looking back, I wish I'd done that because that sets you up for success because you live in your
Right.
house for a while, you have somebody else pay for your mortgage, 5 years go by, you're going to refinance. You can refinance, pull out some money, go buy another place. If you wanted to move into your own house at that point, you could do that and then keep that duplex earning you money, right?
That's right.
So yeah.
That's an awesome idea. Yeah. I
Mhm.
think for everybody who's listening, this should be the strategy up there, for sure. If you can afford a duplex, then start
Yes,
with that, start with what is that, the Corolla, and then you can drive a nice car later on,
absolutely. Yes.
right? That's the way, don't spend money right away on the nice car.
No.
Do you have any particular deal that you remember you just did recently and it was a success story for a client? Give us a little bit of a story behind it.
So there was a property in Brighton. So that
Yeah.
is it's about an hour from Belleville, west of Belleville.
Okay.
So it's about an hour and a half from Toronto. And the property was a triplex. It'd been on the market for a while, and which is weird in a seller's market. So it was actually Travis Royle who saw it. He went and viewed the property. He was like, wow, this has a lot of potential in it. And it's a massive place, like really nice. And so we had a client for the investor who was going to buy it, and he actually got it under asking price for like a crazy good amount, like less than 500,000 for this triplex. The people living there are on ODSP, but they're getting a solid income each month. So eventually, a great option, again, the BRRRR technique, fix it up as time goes on. You've got a great, huge rental property in Brighton, which is only getting hotter and hotter of a market. So that one was really good.
Nice. Those are the great opportunities, because again, it's a long-term plan, right? So I'm sure, it's a long-term plan, because I had a tenant that since 2008 when I bought the property, right? And he was in the 60, I think. Okay. He was living in a basement. In January 2020, I had to call his family to say it is time for him to go to the home care,
Wow.
and it was just, I went through insane, like managing this family that I'm not related to, but anyways, it's part of being owners and investors, and you have to care about people in general, right? So
Yeah.
I had to call the parent, his family, the kids, and it was just interesting. But yeah, it is a long-term investment, like, but it does take time. So where we are right now is we renovated the whole basement. It's brand new, and we're gonna we are putting it on the market. So, and I truly believe that it's a long-term investment for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And
you
yeah,
get,
it's not a get rich quick type thing. And
that's
yeah,
right.
it does set you up for, again, your future, your retirement. And
Right.
then as you get older, you can always transfer it to your kids. It can be generational wealth, right? So it's depending on how much you like your kids. I don't know.
Right. Yes. I don't think they will listen to this podcast.
No.
It's okay. Wow. No, thanks for sharing. This is amazing. And I have some generic question, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So any particular, um, actually, let's go back. You said you were inspired by Travis to become a realtor as well. Is that
Yes, a
correct?
realtor and real estate investor. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what was that switch? Like, what is the story behind that? Like, what happened? You woke up
I
one day
actually,
and you just say, "I'm gonna be investor,"
yeah. So I was working for the Royle Group. I was a marketing and admin person.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first year that I was there was this like we had discussed, his rental properties. I told him like my dreams of, I want to reach so and so of a goal.
Right.
And so one day he's sitting down, he gets a call from somebody and they want to sell their rental property. This guy moved out of Ontario. He's living somewhere else. And he just looks at me. He's like, "You want to buy a rental property?" I'm like,
Oh, yep.
yes.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of how it started. And
Yeah.
it really was inspiring, just because
Awesome.
before I had met Travis,
Right.
I had this mindset of like Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's pretty infamous for, having no debt and never use debt, and you always want to pay everything off. And So I had kind of been in that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought, rentals,
It's
just
bad.
very,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
know.
was scared of tenants. I was scared of horror stories. But then of course, property managers, it's so
Right.
worth it.
That's, I tell people, yeah, for
Yeah.
anything
So
that you are scared for, just find a solution for it,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since then
Awesome.
it's been like,
Congrats.
yeah, it's
Yeah, no,
fantastic.
congrats. Beautiful story there. Like, it's nice to have people around us like that, like Travis, where, inspired you to kind of take that journey and move on, and I'm sure you're going to be quoting him for your rest of your life.
Yes, for sure. I'm very inspired. He's been a real estate investor for years and years and years. And he's learned a lot just, through trial and error. And it's, I think,
Mm,
also important if you're looking to start real estate investing, that you have somebody like a mentor or a coach or even a group, to kind of help support you with any questions that might arise
right.
with that. So,
Right. And you know what? That's what I like working with all my deals so far. I've been with realtors, right?
mm,
Because again, the knowledge that they bring,
yeah,
um, for you can avoid those mistakes of bad neighborhood and stuff like that. So it's worth a million times. Save you
yes.
the headache. And the connections, right? And the other thing that our realtors in general they bring is their connections to other services, right?
Yep.
uh hey, do you know a appliance fixer? Yeah, for sure, I have one. And that's the invisible service. It's not people don't
Mhm.
see that upfront.
Yeah,
It's not just a deal, but it's also the relationship behind it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's so powerful. Because down the road you may not be dealing with that realtor, but you will call and you will say, hey, I need help here, and they will help you for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the beautiful about the investment community is everybody's so open and generous with the information.
Yeah. Yeah. It has
Great,
been, it's
great.
been really nice. And everybody has that mindset of, there is the support and there's the growth and just, it's a very,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah. For through all the interviews I've been doing in podcasts, it's very common that everybody feels the same. We are all
Yeah.
open. Again,
That's true.
everybody needs to be taking care of the family using real estate. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not having $1 million or $10 million, but take care of your family.
Hmm.
And that's the power. And that's what this country brings to everybody as well. If you do it
Yes.
right, you don't have to be rich, but you can be very well comfortable.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's awesome. Yeah. um any particular book that you read and brought you a aha moment?
So when I asked Travis how
Mhm.
he got started real estate investing, kind of what started him all those years ago, he had said Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right.
And so then I read that book and I was like,
Right.
oh, yes. So it's not, even though it's not a real estate related book, it does give you, again, that mindset, that growth, that building your wealth, right? So, yeah, I'd say that's probably the book. I've read some
Like,
other
yeah.
ones. I think
Hmm.
for me, it's a lot of, I've been really into like the abundant mindset. So
Right.
basically just thinking, again, you're worthy of these things. And I don't know, trying to manifest good deals for
Yeah.
coming up. So
Yeah. Yeah. We all need that, manifestation of you can do it, you can do better.
yeah,
You can create better things for your family and surrounding. So
yeah,
awesome. Rich dad and poor dad, very common to many discussions and anybody that started.
yeah.
And I'm not sure, like maybe mine could be that as the first one, but I think my first one that my wife bought me, and we were on a vacation. It was the Real Estate Investing in Canada by Donald Campbell, and that
Okay.
was a beautiful book. That just basically started the whole thing. It had a checklist inside, due diligence checklist, economics, fundamentals. It just like made sense. It's a beautiful, for those that are listening, and real estate investing in Canada it's a nice book. It's a Canadian book, of course, made by Canadians. It's a
That's,
nice.
yeah. That's awesome. I've never heard of that one, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's important because there's so many differences between our real estate versus, like bigger pockets. It's a US based
right.
podcast, book,
Yeah,
etc. So having something that's dedicated to Canadian real estate
yeah.
is, yeah,
It's a nicely done. Like it's the whole process, and it gives you example of how the journey started, how the
oh,
research and everything. So it's beautiful. Like you should check it out.
yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, next time I meet you, I will bring my copy to you. All right. So the other question I have, I asked the guest is, what is your healthy food?
My healthy food.
Yeah, smoothie, drinks, or anything that is
Oh,
healthy. Yeah, something different to make you think.
yeah. I don't know. I love all food. I'd say my go-to would probably be like salmon. Yeah,
Nice.
it's a brain food.
It's a brand food. Yes, 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 yes. Beautiful. Looks like it's because you live in the waterside area, on the
Yes.
lakeside. That's why fish is the first thing that comes out in your mind.
Yeah. Yes.
That is awesome. Okay. Good thing you are not going to say it's a Uber Eat or skip dishes or something like that.
We only just got skip the dishes in Belleville not that long ago. So
All right.
we
Awesome.
have
Oh
it.
man,
But
I don't think it's awesome. That's a bad.
yeah.
uh, Good for the service, but bad for the for the tummy for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So where can the listener find you? How can they can find you?
Yep. So I am part of the Royle Group team. So if you Google the Royle Group, you're probably going to see it's Royle. So it's spelled a little different. So we're on Facebook, Instagram. Again, we have our own website, and my particular username is Elyse Gallagher Real Estate on Instagram and Elyse Gallagher Real Estate on Facebook.
Oh, awesome. Great. Any last advice that you can give to the new starters,
Um,
the first-time buyers, or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah?
Keep an open mind, learn
Mhm.
as much as you can. And, when you hit a block in the road, remember that it's mindset. Remember that you can get around it. You just have to find that solution, and you can lean on other people. Again, you've got that team,
That's
that
right.
5-person team. So it's always a team mentality. You're not in it alone, I'd
Right.
say. Yeah.
But another one is always ask question. Somebody
Yes.
will help. Like
Yeah.
we have this tendency of feeling that I am an investor, I don't have to ask questions. It's just a big headache, like a
Yeah.
big head. But everybody needs help and everybody does provide help.
Yeah.
That is awesome,
Absolutely.
and we have seen that every time, right? So yeah, so that's how you're going to fix the problem. You will find problems, but that's how you will fix the problems.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Again, Elyse, thank you very much for taking time, and I know the kids are looking for you, and it's
Thank you.
so
Thank you for
thank you
having me.
again, and looking forward to build a relationship in Belleville in the future. And
Yeah,
and anybody that is asking questions, we will be sending them to you, and hopefully you can educate them as well.
I'd love to.
That is
Yes.
awesome. Thank you very much. And looking forward in the future again.